a young child, I was taught to never, ever get angry at anyone for anything, ever. That even included my two brothers, for goodness sakes. My father was a Methodist minister. Most definitely, I was absolutely to never, never, ever get upset or angry at anyone who attended our church. That included many of my classmates and friends. Now, as a young child, I was chubby and often teased and laughed at and called fatso, and I was even teased about being a preacher's kid. I did not like this, as you can imagine. I wasn't happy about it, and I would often go home from school upset about being teased, or come in from playing outside unhappy about being teased. No matter what got said to me or how unhappy I was taught to just put a smile on my face and act like nothing ever happened. This was drilled into me, and I learned my lessons well. I often walked around smiling like everything was just wonderful while crying inside. Now, the years went by and I did this. Slowly but surely I grew up and I was still behaving this way, smiling all the time to let people know how happy I was and how wonderful life is, and often crying inside. Unfortunately, I even walked into my marriage this way, sweeping all upsets under the carpet, pretending that everything was wonderful and I was happy about everything, no matter what got said or what happened. I was always happy. Then, once or twice a year, unable to put on the charade anymore, I would explode over some minor thing, leaving my husband to wonder, what just happened? What did I do? I didn't do anything different. I didn't say anything different. What happened? Unfortunately, I didn't know what to say to him because I didn't understand it either. I was just living life the way I had been taught to live it. That's what I knew to do, and I didn't know why it wasn't seeming to work just right. Fortunately, 2 children and 10 years later, I finally sought out the help of a counselor. It was a great experience. I learned a lot and grew a lot emotionally. In the year and a half that I went to this counselor, sometime in there she told me that I was the most passive person she had ever met in her life. She tried many things to get me to express my anger, none of which worked. I could not even pound a pillow, much less rage about anything. I couldn't do that, even though I was filled with rage. Unfortunately, while she was intensely working with me on expressing anger, my husband got transferred for his work, and we, the family, we moved 2,000 miles away for his work. I jumped into my new life and my new community and did not seek out another counselor. But the seeds had been planted, and they took root and began to grow. Slowly but surely, I expressed a little bit of anger. When something would happen that I didn't like, I'd get angry just a little bit. And I would be so proud of myself for expressing some anger. Then I would express some more anger, and then a little more anger. And it was like, wow, this is great. Nothing bad is happening to me like I thought it would, and it actually feels good to get angry and express anger. So slowly I would express more anger and more anger and more anger. And over time, it got to where I was getting angry a lot. Now, as you can imagine, since I did not seek out the help of another counselor, since I didn't have any guidance on my anger, you can guess what happened. Yes, I went all the way the other way with my anger, to the extreme. I would get angry and scream at total strangers if I didn't like the way they even so much as looked at me. if we were in a store and a store clerk didn't help me the way I thought I should get help, I would scream at the store clerk. Or cashier checking me out. If something didn't work just right, I would get mad and rage at the store clerk. I didn't care who you were or what. If I felt victimized in any way, I would scream at you. I sometimes raged at my friends, and of course my family caught the full brunt of my rage all the time. I was blessed. Fortunately, I was blessed and had good friends and good family. They did not leave me. They stayed with me, and I will forever be grateful for those friends and family. My wake-up call came one day when my two teenage daughters and I were walking into a mall to do some shopping. And just before we went in, they stopped me and said, "Mom, we want you to promise us that you will not scream at anybody in there today. Otherwise, we don't want to go in. We'd rather wait in the car for you to do your shopping, and then we'll just go back home." I was stunned. I was amazed. I didn't even know what to say, because two teenage girls who didn't want to go shopping in their favorite mall because of me. It was truly a wake-up call for me. I knew I got angry a lot, but I didn't realize how much it was affecting other people and the extent to which I was doing it. I began to notice and pay attention to what I was doing and what it was possibly doing to others. But I had a problem. In the same way that at one time I had been unable to express any anger at all, now, no matter how much I tried, I couldn't stop the anger. I couldn't stop screaming. No matter whatever happened, if I felt victimized, if I felt made wrong, if I felt injured in any way, I would scream and rage. And I couldn't stop it. Eventually, I was guided by God, by the universe, whatever you want to say. I was guided to forgiveness. I accepted the guidance and started studying and learning about forgiveness in a way. Of course, I'd grown up in church and knew something about it, but this was way beyond anything I'd learned in church. This gave me, studying forgiveness at this level of intense reading and study and workshops, I was learning a whole new way of thinking and being in life. I used forgiveness to clear much of the anger from my life, much of the trauma, much of the rage, and began to practice it in my life and in my relationships. One day, I was talking to my daughter Jennifer, on the phone. By this time, I was in my late 50s, and my children, of course, no longer lived at home. So I had called Jennifer and was sharing with her some of what I was learning and what was going on and what was happening. And she just interrupted me at one point and just burst out and said, "Mom, this is so awesome. You're saying things I never thought I would hear you say. This is great. You were always this wonderful, awesome, terrific, loving mom, but you were also always so angry." I finally, as a teenager, I just accepted that you were this wonderful mom who was just always going to be angry, and I had to accept that. And now you're changing, and it's awesome. Well, you know what? I thought about what she said. We talked about it some, and I had to agree. I was indeed changing, and it was indeed awesome. I was thrilled with it, and I went on clearing more anger from my life, and even more, and bringing more and more forgiveness into my life and sharing it with people. My life was changing, and it was great. My daughter and I kept talking, and finally we decided at one point that I had found something that was too good to keep to myself. I needed to share it with a very angry world. So what we did was gather some friends who were interested, and we formed an organization, nonprofit organization, World Forgiveness Initiative. And I started teaching and talking about forgiveness. Eventually I wrote a book, The Forgiveness Habit, an action plan for healing ourselves and our planet, with a foreword by Desmond Tutu. What I want to say most about forgiveness is this: forgiveness of ourselves and of others is our greatest need. Forgiveness enables us to love freely, joyfully, and unconditionally. We don't even know most of the time when we're hurting other people, and often not even when we're hurting ourselves. And we don't even know what to do when we do hurt others or ourselves. So what I want to say is that forgiveness needs to be much more than just stopping occasionally and clearing some anger out of your life. Forgiveness needs to be a way that we live our lives all the time. An attitude of living life. In other words, forgiveness needs to be a habit. Now, I know that making something a new habit takes something out of you, takes some effort. So I teach 3 practices that I encourage people to do every day. They are gratitude, reverence for all, and oneness. And what's great about them is that they're fun, they're enjoyable, they're delightful, and they're very inspiring, and they are also extremely powerful practices. You do these practices every day, and I promise you, you will have a great day every day. And your life will start to change in ways you can't even imagine. And what's really wonderful about it is that you do these practices every day: gratitude, reverence for all, and oneness. And they lead you naturally to forgiveness. And eventually you will be practicing forgiveness as a habit. Now, to continue to support you even more, I've created a website, theforgivenesshabit.org. And it's designed specifically to help you practice these 3 practices and to support you with forgiveness and even the telling of the new stories, which will start to happen as you put more and more forgiveness in your life and practice these practices. So, I encourage you to go to this website and explore it, theforgivenesshabit.org. You can also download a free chapter from my book, from that website, and you can buy the book there. All proceeds from the book go to our nonprofit World Forgiveness Initiative. There are many things that I'm creating, many changes that are coming this year, webinar courses as well as teleconferences that I'm calling Ask Joanne. You can ask me questions that you have about forgiveness. Be sure and go to this website and sign up for these so that I can send you the information when we start to do these. I just want to say thank you for listening. I look forward to getting to know you.